Since her release in September of 2012, Syndra has always been a well-established mage in the mid lane in professional play and everyday solo queue. As a staple mid lane mage that offers both exceptional mid to late game power and early game potency, Syndra is an excellent choice to add to your champion pool. Her kit provides a range slow, an easy method of stealing buffs from enemies, an AoE stun, and of course, a gameplay button. I'll be going over why she is such an essential champion for mid lane players to play, and why it's crucial for all solo queue players to at least understand what to expect her to bring to the table in each game. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to get subscribed for more content like this. So what makes this champion worth playing? Syndra is a mid lane mage that carries a lot of agency over the lane in most matchups. This is for several reasons. First, Dark Sphere is her primary damage ability on a low CD, has a long range, and has a low mana cost. Essentially, Syndra can use her basic attacks to last hit minions while using Dark Sphere to poke enemies when they stop to last hit. Second, her basic abilities in her kit provide a lot of power in mid to jungle skirmishes. When paired with a powerful early game jungler, she has a great stun to engage and can use Force of Will to steal jungle monsters from the enemy jungler. Syndra should have little to no problem accumulating agency over her lane and generating an advantage in most matchups. Furthermore, her ability to miss nearly every one of her basic abilities and then use her unleashed power and almost, if not completely one-shot an enemy carry is a little uncanny. Nevertheless, Syndra has always been like this, which shows how much weight she can carry even in the worst metas for mid lane mages. So let's compare Syndra to other champions in their class. When comparing Syndra with the other burst mages or control mages in League of Legends, she is clearly one of the more prevalent of her kind. She is often compared most with Orianna and Zoe, two other burst type mages that have seen play in nearly every meta and are able to carry in solo queue and professional matches. The rest of these burst mages are pretty dependent on the meta and are not usually that strong. Specifically, when comparing Syndra with Orianna, it's crucial to notice that part of what makes these two extremely valuable champions is that they can cast their basic abilities while moving and therefore kit out fights or chase down enemies effectively. To point out Syndra's direct benefit over Orianna, we need to understand that Orianna's command Shockwave is crucial to her ability to burst down enemies. Even though Syndra's is also vital, its point and click feature makes it nearly impossible to counter without using something that would also counter Orianna's command Shockwave. Additionally, to avoid the devastation of Orianna's ultimate, enemies just need to know where her ball is and stay away. With Syndra, instead, enemies need to just stay away from her. This means that Syndra's presence alone is enough to break apart the enemy team's formation and generate picks, kills, and easy transitions to objectives. Now let's talk the style needed to play this champ. Playing Syndra requires a certain finesse to truly dominate in game, but with enough time committed to the champion, it will undoubtedly be worth it in the long run. Syndra is considered a high skill cap champion. The basic principles of Syndra's kit are not difficult to understand, but using them to good effect will prove to be a challenge, particularly when it comes to her array of combos where the most skilled Syndra players will prove much more potent than their counterparts. So, in short, don't give up after a couple of games playing Syndra. Grinding out the first dozen games will be necessary for learning a lot of Syndra's kit's basic and advanced mechanics. Once that's out of the way, you'll start to notice your win rate and comfort level turn a corner. When playing Syndra, your main goal should be to poke down your matchup while last hitting to gain priority, then use that priority to help your jungler. Towards the mid game, Syndra should aim to set up picks before Drag and Herald spawns to make the objective and potential teamfight a one-sided affair. Now that we've established the general concepts behind picking Syndra and the style you need to have when playing her, let's discuss what you need to get sorted before playing her: runes. There are plenty of viable keystones to run on Syndra, however, the most consistent option in solo queue is likely to either be Electrocute or Phase Rush. In general, the best Syndra players will take Electrocute if they think they have a good kill threat in the lane and take Ignite. Otherwise, they will opt for the Phase Rush or Teleport. With Electrocute, Syndra is best to take Taste of Blood, Eyeball Collection, and Ravenous Hunter to round out the domination tree. Syndra should take Mana Flow Ban and Transcendence in the sorcery tree as a secondary here. Alternatively, with Phase Rush, Syndra should take Mana Flow Ban, Transcendence, Gathering Storm, Biscuit Delivery, and Time Warp Tonic in the inspiration tree. Moving on to items, starting with Doran's Ring and 2 potions is almost always the best starting item because Syndra is generally the one with the agency in her mid lane matchups. With a Doran's Ring start, Syndra has more mana. The alternative into the few matchups where Syndra doesn't inherently have agency, she should start with Corrupting Potion. The early buys on Syndra should almost always be a refillable potion, Dark Seal, or Boots on the first back. Aside from these, Syndra should look to complete the last chapter as soon as possible. From there, depending on necessity, either Seeker's Arm Guard or Mercury Shreds to deal with the most potent threat to Syndra. If Syndra isn't running Mercury Shreds, she should prioritize Stork Shoes with the Electrocute setup or Lucidity Boots with the Phase Surf setup. Again, depending on your rune choice, you should either be running Luna's Tempest or Everfrost. With TP and Everfrost, Lucidity Boots provide a lot of utility for the team by lowering their cooldowns. On the other hand though, Luden's Tempest with Electrocute and Stork Shoes add insane amounts of damage to an already overloaded kit. From there, the rest of the build is relatively straightforward. Usually, the build will continue with Shadow Flame to round out the core. The final 3 items are situational. Best 3 for most situations are Rabadon's Death Cap, Void Staff, and Sonya's Hourglass. The order you purchase them should depend on the situation here. Let's now look at some Syndra combos to prove that Syndra is actually the high skill champion that we think she is. First, let's start with the basic trading combos you'll use in the lane. Syndra will want to Q the enemy and then E for a stun starting at level 2. When she applies damage with both abilities, she can follow up with a basic attack to activate Electrocute. Otherwise, she can add her W to do the same from level 3 onward. A more advanced trading combo that will be useful against enemies that use gap closing abilities onto you is the E into Q to activate the delayed stun when placed at the E's max range. This will not only push the enemy back but also stun them when they land to provide more space for Syndra to work with. She can then follow up with her W to activate Electrocute. Once Syndra hits level 6, her power is unleashed. The basic combo starts with the same Q into E combo to stun the target. Then, as they are about to come up from the stun, use the W to slow the enemy and buy the last few seconds to get your Q back up. Then use the second Q and immediately use your R. This combo will deal tons of damage with little skill required. For Syndra, players with a little bit more comfort can wait after the stun when the enemy is moving again to use the second Q. Then W the first Q to slow the target again, and then immediately Q and R when the Q is back up again. This combo will use 3 Dark Spheres on the ground for the ultimate dealing insane damage that is honestly just overkill. Of course, the final more advanced version of this is to just start the combo with the E into Q buffer to get the instant stun and then proceed with the rest of the combo. Quickly touching on matchups, the most challenging matchup for Syndra is most likely Zed. As a result, Zed should be your permaban when playing Syndra, and with Zed out of the mix, the next most challenging matchups are other predominant assassins, so things like Ahri, Akali, Fizz, Yasuo, and Yone. Aside from these 5, the rest of Syndra's matchups are generally considered either skill matchups or heavily Syndra favored. These champions are tough matchups because they have great ways of playing around Syndra's stun, and by doing so, can capitalize on how incredibly vulnerable Syndra becomes in that time frame. Moving on to mid to late game. Syndra's mid to late game is solid for her one-shot capability. This means that Syndra is best in the jungle, setting up traps on unsuspecting enemies rotating to catch waves or looking to pick up a buff. Remember that Syndra's Scatter the Weak is a potent ability that acts as her primary peeling ability as well. Therefore, it's essential to only use it when absolutely necessary. Otherwise, you will be incredibly vulnerable. So overall, Syndra is an incredibly worthwhile champion to pick up if you're looking for a mid lane mage to get your hands on. Syndra's potent laning agency can act as a great catalyst to snowball a slight lead into considerable advantages and eventually the game. If that's something you're interested in, then be sure to play some Syndra games and enjoy some fresh LP. Hopefully, this video was helpful to you guys, and I'll catch you in the next one. Stay fresh.